Hi, hi. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Masyado ako na late kasi dito. Masyado ako nag-late ma-start kasi ay dito. May lumabas na yung Shinigami Botchan and his maid. Good shit, good shit. Sorry. Anime kasi prioritize. Tapos nagpainit pa ako ng kape. Ano na tayo? Yung mga nangyari ang dami-dami. Nakalat yung ibang babae. Nag-away si Lilly-sama at si Shizune. At yung pinag-exercise pa tayo. At ngayon ay, dito? Ewan ko. Hindi ko alam kung anong gagawin natin ngayon. At let's go. Kita nyo, di ba? Hmm. Let's go. Load na tayo. Exercise. My morning alarm goes off and I flail about useless uselessly for a while until I remember that I've decided to give morning runs another shot. I don't know if it if this was my greatest idea, but I'm determined to keep going. This is about my health after all. Sure, things haven't been great lately for me, but that hasn't made existence so intolerable that I'm not going to try everything I can to stay healthy. True. Pero ako hindi ako nag-exercise. Mag-exercise uli siya. Besides, it's all about asserting some kind of control over this thing. Yeah. Assert dominance on your disease. Huwag ka patalo. If I can manage that, well, I can manage anything. At least that's what I keep telling myself. Once again, it would appear that I'm not alone in my run. Emi has apparently been here for some time. It looks like she already worked up a good sweat. Just when the hell does she comes down here anyway? Oh, it's you. Wait lang. May inabot lang ako. I'm surprised to see you again. Why is that? Well, not many people actually manage to come back for a second try. Oh. Am I the first? Because kapag sinimulan ko, tatapusin ko syempre. Except kung may demo. Hindi ko talaga matatapos. For a second try. She frowns, seemingly annoyed by a passing thought. Like the rest of the track team, for instance. Huh? Adi siya lang? Siya lang nagtitraining talaga. Still, it was only supposed to be on a volunteer basis, so it's not that big of a shock. And I guess it's pretty early in the morning. A shrug, and suddenly it appears that she's forgotten what she was talking about. The frown disappears entirely and she seems to snap back to her previous train of thought. So, come on then. What? You're here to run again, right? Well, yes. So, come on. I find myself suddenly grabbed and yanked onto the track. Things seem to be set on mirroring yesterday's run. That is, I seem to be struggling while Emmys moved with an effortlessness that I found enviable. It's incredibly bothersome to be so easily worn up. Bakit parang naging mataas agad yung naging mataas yung word choice. Nyari. I know I should be patient, walk towards things gradually, but it's difficult to stay positive about this. We round the track and start on our second lap. Emmy seems to have grown impatient keeping pace with me and begins to pull away. This is where I gave out yesterday. Will I be able to do more? Hmm. Kasi kapag masyado akong dito? Dito? Eh, take it easy, di ba? Kasi pag masyado akong bigla akong yung puso ni Hisaw. I let Emmy go with her own pace and she doesn't show mercy, pulling half a lap ahead of me in an instant. I don't blame her. I mean, it's not as if I'm really putting up any sort of real fight out here, is it? Instead, I'm just running at a steady pace, which is what I should be doing, right? There's no need to go pushing my limbs at this stage of the game. Yes, yes, yes. On pace. God, is this even worth it? Oo, para maano yung ano mo. Para kahit anong hirap, kaya pa rin naman. Parang inaano mo lang yung ano, hinahanda mo lang yung puso. Parang ganon. Ewan ko. Hindi ko alam. Hindi ako doktor. As we finish the second lap, I break off again. Emmy keeps going and it almost seems to me that she's disappointed. Well, that's stupid. I don't have anything to prove to her. Come to think of it, I've got nothing to prove to myself either. I'm just fine the way I am. And what I'm not is a runner. This was probably a bad idea. Maybe there's something else I can do instead of this. Getting up this early sucks anyway. There's got to be some other way to keep healthy. Walking maybe. Nice afternoon walks. Yeah, that sounds good. Running isn't for me. I wave to Emmy and head back to my room. I'll think of something else later. Okay lang naman yung maagang running. Brisk walking. Yung ano nga, brisk walking. Sinerch ko yun ah. Fast walking nga. Tama ako. Hehehe. Yun, maganda yun. Brisk walking. Ma'am, tatakbo ka ba naman? Back in my room, the first thing I see is the familiar row of medication lined up on top of my dresser. And it makes me depressed as usual. It's annoying. I thought it was okay. I thought I had my peace with this thing, gotten over it. But what I really did, I allowed myself to forget that I have a problem. Being here really reminds me of the reality, and trying to fight against it just hurts. Reflecting on it, it's only going to do so much. I've done this before for months. It seems like it's time to get over it. If I allow myself to forget that my life is definitely not going to be as long as those of others, I won't get anywhere. My life may be different from others, but it is a life in progress. This is how I'll rationalize it. Oh. I down the usual handful of pills, trying to push the sudden dreary feeling out of my head. Then I prepare to head out to class early as usual. As I step into the hallway, I notice Kenji coming around the hallway corner, stealthily making his way over to his own room with a large bag. He sneaked past me soundlessly like a ninja hiding in plain sight. I call out to him. Hey. He jumps at the sound of my voice. Oh, hey man, I didn't notice you there. I'm really tired. I think it's more likely he didn't see me, but that's not the issue. Harsh. Where have you been this early? Shopping? Nah, I wasn't shopping. Sometimes I have to visit the math teacher. Yeah, I figured it would be a good idea to find out when the next exam is, since he tells you in advance if you want. So then what's in the bag? I thought I'd go shopping while I was outside. I need supplies to continue the fight against the vast feminist conspiracy. Ah, okay. Eh di nag-shopping nga siya. Sinabi niya pa yung math teacher, pwede niya naman nag-shopping na lang din. I thought you didn't go outside. I wear a hat now. I decided to point out that he's not wearing a hat. An awkward silence settles between us, and then Kenji breaks it by pushing his door open slowly, releasing a creak sound into the air that only makes the moment seem more awkward. He sets the bag down inside his room and then closes the door. I'm surprised you went out of your way to find out a test date. Trying to take advantage of an opportunity to study is pretty diligent. I never study. Oh, I just wanted to know when the next test day was. I'm still going to take it. I need to know what day I can't afford to skip class. He usually sends out updates on the crap by phone, so I had to step up out and check up on it. Oh, genius, genius. And why do you have to go out when you can get it on your phone? I don't carry a phone. What do you mean you don't carry a phone? You mean you just leave it at home? Nah, I don't use phones. I don't have a phone. Phones, I have no phone. Why don't you have a phone? How can you not have a phone? No phone at all? No phone? Pwede bang bulag nga kasi siya? Partially blind? Legally blind, if you must say? I just don't like phones. Actually, I'm kind of scared of them. I don't know why. I think it's some kind of repressed trauma. But basically, when I hear a phone, I get nervous. It's my darkest secret. I have two theories in it. Either I have some fear of receiving some undefined ominous life alerting doom call, or I was beaten with a phone in the past. Beaten so badly I can't remember it. Is the sandal phone? Alam niyo yan, data live, sanda. Oh, sige na, sige na. Beaten in the head. Well, where else could I get beaten with a phone that would make me unable to remember it? The ass. Ginagawa niya. Unexpectedly logical. I feel very depressed now. Sensing this conversation is more or less over. Can you open his door again and prepare to head inside? Yeah, I'm going to sleep, dude. Have a good one. Class is going to start in like 20 minutes. I did something today. Too tired to go to school. Hey, you need some lip balm. I accidentally bought two because I thought the store had started selling individual AA batteries. Thanks, but no thanks. Whatever, man. He swiftly enters his lair, finally letting me go to the class. Wait, kinuha mo na yung lip balm, di ba? May mga pagkakataon na kahit nagli-lip balm din yung mga lalaki, tapos napapansin ng babae, tapos pinag-ano, anong lip balm yung ginamit mo? Parang ganon. Yung kukusan ko na, trap manga. For a change, I'm not among the first ones to come to morning class. Instead, almost everyone else seems to be here already. I recognize most of my class by their faces by now, though the names escape me still. The class goes on lazily. I think I'm starting to get into the rhythm of the school. I haven't even stopped worrying about taking notes and being overtly attentive the first days. I was pretty high-strung in class. Muto finishes his lecture about electricity early, but continues without a pause about the festival. So as you know, the festival is on the day after tomorrow. I hope everyone's projects are going to be successful this year. Have a good time, but also some Sunday. Please keep the meaning of this festival in your minds. Games and fried food. Everyone burst out in laughter and so do I. Yes, thank you, Mikado. But what I meant was on the remainder of his sentence buried beneath the ring of the lunch bells, and everyone starts packing their things. Muto deliberates for a moment, but since almost nobody seems to pay attention anymore, he gives up and sits down. Oh, first time yung merong ganito ah. It's crowded in the hallway, or as crowded as hallways in this school probably get. Most of the students to be heading down for the cafeteria. Hisaw! I'm going to make you a one-time only super extra special lunch offer. Emmy's homemade lunchbox and the privilege of enjoying them in private with two bombshell beauties. Her overly flirtatious sales pitch echoes in the hallway, a remarkable feat since it's full of people. Emmy strikes a very confident-looking pose as though as an attempt to one-up her own ridiculousness, puffing her very modest chest and making the V for victory sign with her hand. Sounds delicious. To what do I owe this honor of being invited? You stood there looking really lost and sad, so I thought you could use some company. That is probably the most depressing reason imaginable. So how about it? You're probably really lonely and would eat that awful cafeteria food all alone otherwise. Eh? I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Sure, I'll have your lunch offer with pleasure. Let's go to the roof. The roof? Why the roof? Because that's where we eat lunch. If I don't get up there, then she'll probably wander off and then I just know she'll go hungry because she never packs a lunch for herself. Who will? Come with me. Without answering my question or waiting for a response, she grabs me by the arm and drags me through the hallways. I attempt to make conversation on the way. Why do you have an extra lunch? Emmy smiles guiltily. Actually, it's yesterday's lunch. I slept in a run at lunch and forgot to eat it. Huh? Pwede pa ba yun? Lunch nung kinabukasan. Ay, ano? Kagahapon. Kahapon. Sabi daw nila wala daw yung kagahapon. Tingin ko meron ganun. Kagahapon. At least kasi Kabiteño. Pero sabi din ng ibang Kabiteño wala talaga. Pero kagahapon. Yesterday. Kahapon. The stairway to the roof is a little dilapidated, but it's clearly been used recently. At the top of the stairs is a door, complete with missing lock. I wonder who the interpreted individual was that removed the lock. Emmy shoves the door open and steps beaming into the sunlight. Suddenly, a tall, dark stranger appears out of nowhere, standing imposingly in front of us. Emmy flinches back, almost falling down the stairs. Hello? Si Rin, di ba? Yipes, you scared me, Rin. Wait, isn't she? Hello? Noticing that Rin is speaking to me, Emmy looks curiously at me. You two know each other? I look confusedly at Emmy. She's that friend of yours. How small the world is. Oh my god. Parang ano? Ano ba tong world na to? Parang visual novel. Is this a visual novel? Rina turned her gaze towards the clouds drifting above the school. I didn't know knew this person, Emmy. The awkward silence lasts only for a few seconds until Emmy lets out a tiny giggle, shrugging the coincidence off. I invited Hiso for lunch. If you know him, that's just better. Oh, does this mean I don't get food, or did you invite him for lunch without the lunch? Neither. I have food for three. Nice thinking. They walk to the other end of the rope while I stay at the clock tower for a while, taking in the atmosphere. There's nobody else but us here. I guess the rope is not as popular as it is in other schools. Na, tingin ko kapag may roof ang school, marami talagang mga student doon. Sa anime or manga lang talaga yung parang walang katao-tao. Pero may mga manga dyan tsaka na anime na dinede-picture na maraming mga tao sa nasa roof talaga. A few rundown benches and tables are scattered around the edges, perhaps in an attempt to make the rooftop look less desolate. Kung mag-ano kayo ng rooftop, dapat may mga puno or bushes man para astig. Good shit. The small pebbles covering the roof rattle beneath our feet. I peek through the chain link fence to take a look at the school grounds and beyond. Students are strolling in pair and groups around the quadrangle and at the cafeteria. A few delivery trucks are driving past the school towards the convenience store nearby. Somewhere a watchdog barks at a passerby. Somehow, when I look towards the town center, the small town feel strikes me very strongly, almost palpably. Ano yung palpably? Palpably? Ano yun? The hectic lifestyles of big metropolises seem so far away and foreign here. Nobody has to run to catch a bus like their life depended on it or get their senses overloaded by the neon lights and traffic jams. I feel surprisingly optimistic about this new life of mine, looking at my new hometown even if it's going to be mine for only one short year. Finding out about my illness and having to move away from home all come so suddenly. I haven't had time to think how I feel about it. When I step out of the shadow of the clock tower to the open, I feel warmth touching my back. The sun shines from a perfectly clear cerulean sky. A cool breeze sweeping over the rooftop makes me shiver, but only briefly. The wind carries the scent of trees and flowers, not smog and car exhaust like it used to just a few weeks ago. Amy settles on a bench with Rin in tow and produces one big and two small lunch boxes from her bag. Come on, Hisa, what are you waiting for? She's beckoning me to join them, making room on the already small bench. I sit myself on the corner of the bench to take as little as possible. It's pretty cramped, but somehow all three of us fit on it. Good shit yung yung parang pinapalapit nila yung character. Good shit. Parang feeling mo talaga yung distance. Impressive view. Emmy surprised a giggle and places a lunchbox in front of her and hands another lunchbox to me. Here you go, lunch as promised. Homemade, no less. I'm impressed. Wow, this looks really good. Thanks, I make them myself when I can. Conversation dies off as I set about the business of feeding myself. Taking a few bites, I glance up and notice Rin deftly opening the lunchbox and popping a forkful of food into her mouth using only her feet. Even though I've seen it before, I can't help but be impressed at her dexterity. It's also a reminder of the sort of place I am in right now. Will I get used to these sights such as this? I can't decide if getting used to such a thing would be good thing or a bad thing, either. Does getting used to this place mean that I'm giving up on being a normal person? Normal pa rin naman. Wait, no. Huh? What is what is what is the definition of being normal? Ano ba talaga ang normal? Hello darkness my old Or does it just mean that I'm becoming more understanding about those around me? Yeah. Yun lang talaga kailangan mo maging understanding. That's what that's what is really is supposed to be. Para maintindihan nyo isa't isa, understanding. I'm distracted from my thoughts by sight of Emmy tearing into her lunch as if it had insulted her ancestors. You seem pretty hungry. Emi looks up, mouth half full, and swallows before nodding. My morning run always works up an appetite, which is great because then I burn through lunch pretty quickly. Helps me keep my girlish figure. What would happen if you'd lose it? Would you become a man? I was nearly choked on my lunch trying not to laugh. It's a figure of speech. Does your figure have to run in the mornings too? Do you always talk like this? Talk like what? Like what? I think that answer my question. Never mind. Also, I started to think of small talk and settle on the obvious question. How'd you two meet? Remy seems content to let Emi answer this question. Someone in the housing department thought that we'd complement each other well, so we were assigned rooms next to one another. Complement each other, like shoes and a suit. Huh? Emi giggles at my confusion. Put us together with we've got all our limbs, get it? What a dark humor that is. Ah, so I started helping Rin get ready in the morning and that was that. I mean, you can't help someone get dressed by every morning and not get along. I see. Rin chooses this moment to interject. I have trouble with shirts. Right, that seems fairly obvious. Really? Kind of. This isn't helping, but at least Emmy seems to find the whole thing funny. That combined with the fact that Drin is genuinely curious makes me feel slightly better and yet confused. I mean, you've got no arms. So, putting on shorts is like one of those things that would be difficult. You know what? I'm going to just stop talking now. It will save me a lot of trouble in the long run. Rinse not in what I suspect is meant to be a sage manner. I see. The confession dies as I turn my attention back to my lunch. It's really quite good. Amy finishes her lunch first and make a contented noise. Ah, that was good. As she busies herself with cleaning up her lunch, Rinse picks up. I'm thirsty. Oh, I almost forgot about that. Sorry. With a flourish, she reaches into her bag and removes a tray of juice boxes. She tosses me on that appears to be cranberry juice. One tureen that appears to be some kind of strawberry milk, complete with pink color skim, and keeps an equally pink box of some kind of fruit punch for herself. Rix discreetly stabs her straw through the top of her box and begins to drink. I'm once again impressed with how flexible she is, but this time I keep my comment to myself. Somehow I don't think either Emmy or Rin are the sorts of people to think twice about the way they work around their particular disabilities. Rin especially so. Indeed, she gives off the impression of being entirely aware that she's missing any limbs at all. Whether or not that's a conscious decision is another matter. I'm honestly not sure. Ito ang tanong. Ito. Ito ba yung may mga mula nung pinanganak ng walang kamay, kaya sanasanay na talaga sila or yung parang aksidente or kung ano man. Yung alam, basta yung alam yung mga ganon. Parang ang anuhin isipin kung paano baka pag silang pa lang nila or nawala sa kanila ng isang araw. Mas mahirap yung nawala sa'yo ng isang araw. Kasi na-taste mo na yung kung gaano kaganda yung parang magkaroon ng kamay at kung ano man. Tapos bigla na lang nawala, 'di ba? Pero syempre there's still some longing if sa mga na nang wala na talaga silang kamay on the yung parang ano ba talaga yung feeling na may totoong kamay. Pero 'di ba may mga alam ko mechanical hands ng may mga ganon-ganon, may mga ganon na eh pagkakalam ko. Ang ano nga lang yung sa mata. Sa pagiging deaf, alam ko meron ding ano dun eh. Ewan ko, di ako doktor. Masyado na ako napapahaba sa pagsasalita, sorry. So Hisaw, how do you like it up here? It's quite nice. Actually, I like high places for the view. Thanks for inviting me up here. And for the lunch too. Emmy grins a 1,000 watt grin, pleased by response I suppose. Uh, nandito pa rin yung mot kagahapon. Hindi ko pa hindi pala siya lumabas kagahapon din. Oh my god, kaganinang umaga din. No problem. Feel free to eat with us next time too, okay? I won't make you a lunch but you can bring your own up here. No lunch service, I don't know. Emi looks Max offended, trying to take advantage of my good nature. The nerve. She giggles. Well, if that's your answer, I guess Rin and I will just keep eating lunch all alone. I'm suddenly assaulted by the most heart-rending puppy dog eyes I've ever seen as Emmy pouts. Kidding, I was kidding. I'd love to eat lunch up here again. Good location and the company's okay too. Emmy frowns a bit at my declaration of okay but seems happy enough that I've accepted her invitation. The nerve. Ginagamit nila yung pagiging mabait ko sa mga babae. Sa pagiging mabait kasi ako. I'm a swamp. A swamp? I guess this makes us friends now. Or at least acquaintances. The lunch bell rings signaling a return downstairs. Rin, you didn't finish your lunch again. I wasn't that hungry. If you don't eat more, you're going to fade away. Rin shrugs as if this is this is an unexpectable risk. Come on, we'd better get going. The three of us head down the stairs together. The afternoon class passes once again. I find myself without a plan for something to do after school, so I head to the library to return a couple of the books I finished reading. Walking inside, I see that there are about as many students here as there were on Tuesday. All the more evident from the almost total silence enveloping the room. Oh, kakagulat. Sa inyo yata hindi nyo marinig yung BGM, pero sa akin masyadong malakas yung BGM. As I drop the books I'd borrow into the return slot in the counter, Yoko suddenly pops up from behind, quite startled from the bagging they make as they hit the trolley next to her. Ah, sorry Yoko, didn't mean to startle you. No, no, that's fine. It happens a lot. I'm used to it by now. Can I help you? It's okay. I think I know where everything is. Thanks anyway. I suppose I'll grab another book or two while I'm here. That's not much else to do. And after reading so much during my stay in the hospital, it's become a hard habit to break. Sorry. Sorry. I wander down to the fiction section towards the back of the library, scanning the bookshelf for anything that catches my eyes. As I do, I look over to the corner where Hanako had been the last time I was here, not really expecting anything to come of it. Surprisingly though, she's there, absorbed completely in a fairly thick book. I decide against intruding on her like last time, and get back to finding reading material. After an indiscernible amount of time spent pursuing the aisles, I finally decide on a couple of books to get and slide them off the shelf. With a minimum of fuss, I quickly walk over to the counter, check out my books, and pop them into my bag as I walk out. By the time I leave the main building, sunset isn't too far away. A small trickle of students remain, but the majority have left, presumably to their homes and dorms. I guess I need to buy some supplies. I can't live off cafeteria food and eating out for my entire stay here. As I leave for the gate, I make a few loud stretches to try and stave off the tiredness that's accumulated over the week. After passing through and rounding the corner, though, I see a solitary figure walking down the hill towards the small town below. The color of her hair and tapping of her cane are unmistakable. I quickly walk up to her, which seems to catch her attention without a word of needing to be said. Hi, Lily. She takes a moment to pace the voice, slightly adjusting her head to face a bit more towards the source of my voice as she does. Hisaw? Yep, that's me. She seems to have good memory of for boys. Good. Gusto ko yung mga ganun yung parang bulag, tapos alam nila yung sa sounds. Parang mas, gusto ko talaga yung mga taong may ano, mas maano sa pandinig. Para kasi siyang good shit na ability. Enhanced hearing, sabi. Para siyang talaga. Kasi tinan mo, kung enhance yung mata mo, oo, makita ka ng malinaw, pero may mga ganun, 'di ba? Kung enhanced hearing, bro, good shit. Mala Zenitsu or yung sa word trigger na isa. Ang pangalan nun? Basta yung isa, nasa Kazumatai. She seems to have a good memory for voices. The fact that she actually remembered is a pleasant surprise. Good evening, what's bring you here? Once again, she gives a polite bow, and once again, I reply in kind before realizing that I needn't do so. Just going into town, you. Hmm. My, what a coincidence. Doing the same thing, eh? I usually go shopping on Fridays. She pauses for a moment, suddenly looking a little lost. That said, Hanako usually comes into town with me. Ah, not lost but worried. The two do seem to keep pretty close tabs on one another. It's kind of surprising that Hanako would just forget Lily like that. I noticed her reading in library. She probably just got caught up in a book. She lets out a small sigh of relief. Blah, 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 blah. A small sigh of relief. Thank you. She has a habit of doing that. Avid reader. Right. She doesn't like being around the crowds of people, so reading away from everyone lets her relax a bit. Although she probably didn't intend it, I can't help but grimace as I recall my first meeting with her. Hardly wanting to bring it up, I remain silent as we quietly continue to walk down the quiet road. Tak, 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 tak. With the road bereft of cars and students of Yamako increasingly far behind us, the quiet rushing of the leaves and the measured tapping of Lily's cane against the sidewalk are all that can be heard. It's kind of nice, especially compared to the hustle and bustle of where I used to live. Before I know it, I've relaxed so much that a loud yawn escapes before I can control it. Tired? Yeah, been running rag these past few days. That's an understatement, to be sure. Transferring into a different school would be bad enough, but nothing like this. Well, hopefully everything should settle down for you. The festivals get everyone in a spin right now, and you've been plopped right in the middle of things. For a moment, I hesitate, but given her apparent tolerance for frankness, I decided to give my full thoughts. I guess Yamako's kind of different though. I mean, the formality surrounding everything, the isolation around it, not to mention the most obvious difference. It's kind of a whole different mindset. I suppose I'll get used to it tough. Tough tuloy. I'll get used to it though, in time. She gives a matter of fact and apparently pleased with my answer. It feels almost as if she's included me in the flock of students she's shepherding, along with class 3-2 and Hanako. What a, tarito? What a sense you give. What a sense to it. What a presence. Ah, well, not that I mind. It's nice to get the thoughts off my chest in any case. Looking on the bright side, one could see it as a chance for a new beginning. You should cherish the ability to make new friends. That's optimistic, nonetheless. It's good to have a positive attitude about such things, I suppose. I guess that's a good take on it. Walking on down the road, she seems, di ba that walking down the road lang? Bakit may on? Walking down the road, she seems to become somewhat unsettled. Before I can ask what's on her mind, she seems to collect herself and speaks about something else. So where in the town were you going? That's actually a pretty good question. I'd come in to buy food, but the layout of the place is totally foreign to me. Ugh. I had intended to just wander around and see what I could find. But with sunset already approaching and nightfall not too far away, that doesn't seem very wise. I'm going to ask her for directions again. I was just going to get some food, but now that you mention, I don't really know the way. Well now, this is quite lucky. I was just about to go to the convenience store myself. Looks like I'll be in your care again then. Thanks. Ho. Thank you, Lilly-sama. Thank you. Together we walk to the store. My pace is carefully slowed to remain beside her. Compared to my usual walking pace, hers is quite a bit slower. Not that it's without reason. After what couldn't be more than several minutes, I catch sight of our objective. This town really is pretty small. Without further ado, we make our way inside with a greeting from the counter. Mind if I tag along with you? Usually Hanako would help me, but seeing as she's not here, it takes a moment before I realize what she means. Considering she wouldn't be able to read any of the labels, shopping without any help would be a big pain for her. That said, I can shake the feeling that she'd had this idea since I said I was coming here. Sure, it'd be my pleasure. Haha. yes, my yes, my Ojo-sama, Lily-sama. I grabbed two well-used, kung di niya nakita nagbabaw ako kapag sinasabi ko Lilly-sama. I grabbed two well-used red basket from the small stack beside the entrance, handing one to Lily. She lays it on the ground, putting her school bag in, retracing her cane and sliding it through the basket handle before picking it back up in her right hand. What if she if she doesn't use her cane? Before I can complete the touch, she comes beside me and pinches the cuff of my uniform in her slender fingers. Oh! Let's go! Hiya! Dili sama aggressive too much. Is this alright? Sure. I have no reason not to accept. I can think of worse things than shopping with a pretty girl holding on to me, even if it's out of necessity. Ha! Ha! Oh, lili sama. We navigate our way through the store with not one of the occasional passing customers seeming to bat an eyelid. Considering how close Yamako is, I guess seeing students from there must be entirely normal for the local residents. As we reach each aisle, I quickly check with Lily and find out what she needs. I grab it along with what I'm looking for and putting our items into their respective baskets. I guess this is the same routine she and Hanako follow every Friday. Right, all that's left is the bread, and that should be my shopping. That should be my shopping done. Do you need anything else, Lily? No, this should be everything. Off we go then. With a quick side trip to the bakery section, we make our way to the registers. The line thankfully is almost non-existent. It's not long before we've both paid for our food and our out the door. As Lily retrieves her cane and extends it to full length, I waste a minute looking upwards at the night sky while holding both of our bags. For a moment, I try to make clouds with my breath, but the summer's heat doesn't seem to cooperate. Gusto yung gano'n, no? Gusto ko din makita, hindi ko pa nagagawa yan. Yung meron kang yung parang meron kang nakita mo yung hininga mo. Gusto ko kamo yun, Eventually, she rights herself, taking a quick stretch before taking her bag and leaving me to my two. You tired as well? The festival preparation has been complete chaos. Shizune breathing down my neck doesn't exactly help things either. Hey, she's only trying to get everything organized. Better now than later, right? I suppose I am going to enjoy relaxing in town tomorrow. That's for certain. I guess the festival preparation must be taking their toll on both of them. We walk out into the quiet street, talking between ourselves as we carry our bags of food and supplies from the store. Wait, what's that? I notice a very distinctive figure making its way toward us, silhouetted by street lamps. For a second, I think it's another male student from my class, but as he, or should I say she, gets closer, I recognize her quickly. Rin, what you doing out here so late? Rin? Lily perks her head, looking like she's trying to focus on listening more keenly. It suddenly comes to me that I should probably interpret the scene for her. It's Rin Tezuka, I think was her last name. It's Rin Tezuka, I think was her last name, from our school. She stiffens at the name and gives a complicated looking expression, something like a forced fusion of a composed smile and a painful cringe. I understand. I guess Lily knows Rin too. Rin turns to look at us, looking terribly out of it. I'm not entirely sure if she recognizes either of us, or at least she doesn't acknowledge if she does. She looks like a zombie, or a statue. Statue of a zombie. Pinagsama na lang. But slowly, some symptoms of understanding seem to light in her dark eyes. This is something she must react to. She blinks once very thoroughly. Nagantay dito, yung tawag dito, nagdo-double look. Parang ganon. Hello. There's an awkward pause, everyone waiting for someone else to say something. What are you doing here this late? I I was wondering about that myself too just now. Some people asked that just before. I assume they were wondering the same. I didn't know. They didn't know either. I asked, that's why I'm wondering. So that was pretty much it. It's a murder mystery without a murder. Huh? They were going that way. She turned facing to her light in order to demonstrate the direction that order people went as if that was important. Then rotates back like a mechanical puppet in one of those overly complicated clockworks. For a person who gives an impression of being the quiet type, Rin Rin really does use a lot of words to say things that don't need a lot to be said. Unless if she's finished, I say something neither does Lily, who seems equally rubbed off words up for the time being. Tama ba? Tama? Tama ba? For the time being. Tama. Oh, I think the both of us are in fact just scared that any response might provoke her to continue. Our stupefied lack of reaction doesn't faze Rin at all. She keeps looking at us expectantly, a calm hit of expression on her blank face. She seems to be that kind of person. Always so relaxed. As if bull elephant grade sedatives were flowing in her brains in the place of blood. Do you have amnesia? I don't recall you having anything of the sort, though. No, I don't think it's that. The other passerby were probably just worried, though. You do look really lost the way you're standing in the middle of the street. Oh, I see. Maybe I should have taken some other kind of pose in that case. I pondered for a while whether I should chase this angle further or give up for the sake of my own sanity. I decide on the latter. It seems that most of the time it's better to not read too deeply into what Rin is babbling about. Talking with Rin is like playing chess with a supercomputer who does seemingly completely random moves, as if to mock everything you know about chess. It's like that except the human interaction. Even if I win, it feels like losing. Damn, it's just like Kenji said. Even when I win, I lose. Is this the power of the girls of Yamaku? Huh? I I I push the thought aside as today just to consider further. It's probably just Kenji's anti-female propaganda getting to me during a moment of weakness. Masyado kang mabilis maano, tarito? Ma-influence din. Yeah, maybe taking another pose might have worked. So anyway, you have no idea what you're doing here. She frowns, looking extremely dismayed at either my question, its consequences, or the answer she's about to give. Its consequences or the answer she's about to give. I do have some idea. I can't really tell what a kind of an idea. That sounds like progress at least. Lily sounds as if she spotted an opening for some kind of discernibly normal conversation. I can say I share her optimism. Yes, there is some, definitely. The rest will come later. I'm sure of it. I always have reasons. The ensuing silence kills Lily's hope all too visibly that they didn't last long. Rin, as far as I can tell, and based on assu- assurances aside, what should be done? We could just leave her to her own devices. Whatever those are, but it's late and I don't think we'll be getting any thanks if Rin is found standing here in the middle of the night. Which she probably will, unless she managed to remember what she was doing here in the first place. As for me trying to guess what might been going on in her mind when she decided to on this adventure, the chances si- the chances seem to be on par with winning the lottery several times in a row. Lily is oddly quiet too. I'd appreciate some support from the silence here, especially if she's more familiar with Rin than I am. But it can't be helped. It seems her familiarity with Rin is exactly why she's staying subdued. So I assume you're going somewhere, not coming back to school. Any idea where? Her eyes widen in shock and she jolts back in a somewhat artificial way, making it seem like an act rehearsed for a situation like this. Are you a mind reader? Is that your disability? Di ba dapat abi? How unique? No, what? Why would you think that? You knew what I was doing. It was just an educated guess. We walked this same street in the other direction just before to get to the store. If you were going to school, we would met you on the way. Oh, she looks a little disappointed. Like Kenji, Rin appears quick to jump to completely irrational conclusions. Maybe it's something in the water here. I make a mental note to stock up on soft drinks. You know, that is the second time this week that someone asked if I was a mind reader. Do I really give off that impression? Rin shrugs her shoulder, which is all the answer I get. You know, maybe you should come with us back to the school. Lily interjects um, just as I am about to further debunk my alleged mind-reading capabilities. She sounds rather concerned, the paper thin smile on her face badly disguising the fact. Maybe she came to the conclusion as I did. For everyone's sake, I decided to let the mind-reading topic drop, as it's entirely inane anyway. Yeah, Lily's right. If you can't remember, there's no point staying here. Rin considers this rather simple deduction for a moment, then nods. Okay, we start toward the school again, having wasted way more time than necessary with this episode. Rin walks along the edge of the sidewalk in her arrhythmic way, looking like a mix of sleepwalker and rope dancer. while Lily keeps, ano, look, arit, in her arrhythmic way. Ako, di ba ako yung arrhythmic? Dug, 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 dug. Looking like a mix of sleepwalk and rope down, while Lily keeps one hand on my shoulder, tapping at the ground with her cane. Tap, step, step, tap, tap, step, step, step. Apart from that and a few fragmented beginnings of conversation is quiet. A quiet apart from the relaxing one into town at that. So, how's the mural going? We are going to get bad luck. Never talk about works in progress. I'm sure it'll be wonderful. Bad luck. Top step, top step. She doesn't care to talk about it. Lily's politeness feels out of place for the first time. Step, step, step. The hill Yamaha rests on top of is surprisingly steep going uphill. We slow the pace but I still feel my pulse rising and breathing getting heavier. Almost there, I can see the guys already. Sarcastic tsaka polite kasi. Nagka-clash yung kanilang personality. Pero sa tingin ko, hindi katulad nung kay Shizune eh. Ito yung parang mas lang, tarito. Kailangan lang nila ng tamang mediator para mag-give way sa kanilang communication, 'di ba? Mas sila, magiging mas friends sa tingin ko. More than that, though I noticed that Lily's hand slightly tightens on my shoulder, interpreting it as a suggestion that she wants to ask something. I speak up. Anything wrong, Lily? I resist the urge to say, aside from our traveling companion, but only just. For a moment, she seemed to debate whether she should even bring it up, but goes for it anyway. Is everything alright? Alright, how do you mean? The fact I can't interpret her incredibly vague question put us off for a second. It's just you seem unusually tired, I guess. Now that she brings it up, I notice that my breathing is strangely heavy. The uphill walk has really done a job on me. Lily noticed it all too quickly. I don't really want to talk about it. Sorry, I'm not in a very good condition. Para kay Lilly-sama mag-open up ako. Kasi, si Lilly-sama eh. She can understand my pain because it's Lilly-sama. Tsaka, nasabi ko na naman kay Rin, bakit ko kailangan pang dapat nga dapat inaalam. Mostly sa mga ganitong bagay. Kasi nga, 'di ba nga, baka kasi mag-alala pa sila. Na sinasabi mo na kung kailan talaga dito, mas mahalaga, 'di ba? Sorry, I'm not in a very good condition. It's alright. I just need to catch my breath. My condition isn't the best these days. Oh, is it something that is related to you being here? Being transferred here? I mean, she cuts herself off rather abruptly, maybe realizing she was being a bit intrusive. Her instincts are sharp, though. And while I don't like the subject, it's not like I should die about it. If it's Lily, I don't think I might, di ba? It's Lily-sama eh. It's Lily-sama. Bakit ka magtatago kay Lily-sama? Si Lily-sama yan eh. I'm just a little weak for the time being. Hanako said you look fairly healthy, so I naturally thought. Lily doesn't finish her sentence again, letting it trail off with a measure of concern. As she furrows her brow, Lily's mag-uubo na yata ako ng dugo. Meron na rin akong disability. Lily's uncomfortable expression spurs me to say at least something to ease her feelings. It's surprising she's this flustered, considered her straightforward attitude with her own blindness. She must not she must know that not all share her own comfort about such things. No, it's okay. I guess the best way to put it would be messed up heart. Arrhythmia. I had a bad heart attack a while ago because of it, and spent most of the spring in a hospital. Ended in Yamako on doctor's orders. She silently nods her head in acknowledgement. My answer, though, only seems to make Lily furrow her brow even further. She doesn't seem to quite know how to react, given we don't really know each other that well. I can't really fault her for it, given I have the exact same reaction. To my surprise, in a moment's time, her face shows that she comes to some sort of realization. Wait, so the time when Emi and Jo collide in the hallway? I grimace slightly. Her ability to connect the dots quite so fast is unexpected. Yeah, I guess I'm a textbook example of why those rules about running in the corridors exist. That was a lot more dry than I intended. Lily visibly shies away from continuing the topic. While I do want to assuage her, as, ano yan? Ano yan? Assuage her concern. I really don't want to dwell on this either. Don't worry about it. I try to offer a reassuring smile, but then I realize the futility. Without knowing this, Lily smiles at me reassuringly but doesn't say anything further. Arriving at the dorms, Rin stops in front of her mirror as if lightning struck her. She had been so quiet for almost all of the walk back, all of the walk back that but I had all but forgotten she was here. It's Friday, isn't it? Yes, Friday, the 8th of June. This is bad. Bad, why? I think in I'm going to go in a fetal position and throw up, possibly in reverse order. Huh? Is something wrong? No, nothing is wrong. It's Friday and nothing is wrong. This mural it's going to be need to be finished by Sunday, so everything's all right. Do you have any drugs or a time machine? This is no good. This is not good. Not good. So she's behind her schedule, recalling Shizune's exasperation at Rin's carefree attitude several days ago. I don't know what to think. She has left herself open for a told you so, unless she can pull off whatever she needs to pull off by Sunday morning. Rin keeps staring at her mirror as mortified as she can. Leave me. I'm going to need to work for a while. I glance at Lily, expecting her to share an incredulous look with me as I roll my eyes, but then incredulous look with me as I roll my eyes. But then I realize she's not one to do that kind of thing. Leave me. Bakit parang ikaw yung ano, yung parang kapag yung nasa adventure tapos yung parang pabayaan nyo ako dito. Pumunta na kayo kay Demon Lord. Ako na bahala sa dito. One of this ano, parang isa yung nagpapaiwan para sa party member, parang ganon. Or kung ano man. We do of course, not wanting to aggravate her any more than she already is. There's a churning bad feeling in my gut. Rin sure has a knack of making people feel worried about her. She seems like a person who should never be left alone. Maybe we should call someone. She sounded like she was going into shock or something. I'm sure she will be just fine. She's just how to say. Lily cocks her head a little, trying to find a polite way of calling Rin crazy without calling her crazy. Unique. Yes, a very unique person. I guess you could say that. She giggles at the notion melodiously, nodding in agreement. Sorry about leaving you stranded as you talk to her. I don't really understand her, so I keep my distance. So my guess was right. Lily offers a slight apologetic smile as if she was sorry that her own shortcomings have prevented her from becoming closer to Rin. Yan. Kailangan lang nila ng mediator. I'm not one to blame her at all. Lily lets slip a long breath, probably a disguised yawn. I imagine she's as exhausted by all this as I am. I'd better leave now and give this to Hanako. Thank you for the company, Hisaw. She smiles very sweetly at me. It feels different than normal, despite the fact that she seems to be smiling so often. I can't put my finger on what the difference is. It's just different. Hmm. Relaxed, I say. But that's probably just relief of over getting rid of Rin. Maybe. Yeah, good night. Say hi to Hanako for me. I will. Good night. Phew! Date with... A date... Pwede naman sabihin, di ba? After school date. With ano? With Lilly-sama. Mm. The, the students roll into class for the Sunday morning session. Each and every one of them sporting and the tired eyes of people who have worked through the night. With only a day left to prepare, I suppose it's not so surprising. Thankfully, we only have to suffer through classes until the lunch break, and then our time is our own. Muto lurches into class in a tired stagger. I suppose students aren't the only people here that enjoy their late Friday nights. Without saying a word, he scrolls some page and question numbers on the board and slams that at his desk. It's completely atypical behavior for him, but it appears that no one in the class is going to call him out on it. Wordlessly, the students shuffle their textbook into position and get to work. Not wanting to break the trend, I do the same. Fatigue has made the class antisocial. Not a peep is heard among the ruffling papers. But that can be partly be attributed to the two empty seats beside me for some reason. Misha and Shizune aren't present, probably doing council work for the festival. It's very quiet without Misha present, as if she was born as rowdy as she is, or if she is making up for Shizune's lack of voice. Nakai, can I speak to you for a moment? I'm so engrossed in thinking about Misha that I don't even notice Muto approaching my desk. Sure, what's this about? It's probably better if you speak outside the room. Something about this doesn't too good, but I stand up and follow him out into the hallway. Muto stands in the hallway, scratching his head as he works out what he's trying to say. Not knowing what is going on, I wait silently. So tell me, how are things? Things? I expected Muto to be a little vague, but this is pushing the limits. You know, things you've had a week to settle in now. So how are things? Oh, in the school, in this whole routine of Yamaku Academy, shemai. Fine, I guess. I see. And how is your condition? The pause before condition seems a little unnecessary. Haven't had any problems so far. A brief shimmer of relief passes across Moto's face. Good, that's good. The school nurse was a little concerned that you might have been pushing yourself a bit too hard. He asked me to keep an eye on you when he couldn't. That makes sense. I'd ask that you don't blow us off so freely. As much as we try to give you the level of education that you would get at a normal school, you have to realize that you have limits. Our goal is to make sure that you know where those limits are and how to maximize your potential within them. Do you follow me? Yes, sir. I don't plan on doing anything stupid. Well, that's a start, I guess. So then, on to my question. How are you finding your studies? I understand you were laid up for a while. We're not too far ahead, are we? I don't really think so. I tried to keep up when I was in the hospital, so it hasn't been too hard. Muto taps his chin and raises an eyebrow as he absorbs this information. Is that so? I suppose there are still students out there who realize the importance of learning. First time. I wouldn't go that far. I was only first trying to keep myself occupied in my little life support prison. Well, yeah, you've got to keep up with these things, right? That's exactly it. One wrong move in this world and you're left behind, right? Ako na left behind ako. Right. Wouldn't want that to happen. No, no, you wouldn't. Every week there's a new scientific discovery. Most of them mean nothing to the lay person, but any one of them could be the next to the huh? But any of them could be the key to the next big thing. I'll keep that in mind. It's obvious that Muto's serious talk is over and he's gone back to his standard, slightly scattered-brained approach to life. Nga pala science teacher nga pala to, di ba? I think in hindsight that I prefer him this way. He's slightly more predictable in his unpredictability. Well then, I think that's all I really had to say. Let's get back inside, shall we? My relief at the suggestion is insurmountable. Sure, you're the boss, right? Muto paused for a moment. I don't think any of my students else ever said that to me before. For an instant, I considered replying to this, but something deep within me tells me to shut my mouth and get back into the classroom. Kasi para siya ano, mafia kung ano man. Kasi black and ganito, ganyan. Good. Hindi siya white. A few of the students jump at the sound of the board. At the door, rapidly trying to pretend that they are working on the questions on the board. Some don't even bother their heads slump on the desk as they nap. Thankfully, it would appear that Muto does not even notice them. He returns to his desk and retrieves a scientific journal from one of the drawers. I guess I got I guess I got to him there. The class returns to the near silence that Muto and I left it in before our chat. Mixed feeling of tiredness and anticipation buzzed around the room. Everyone here is either waiting for a chance to rest or the chance to get their last minute preparations underway. The clock on the wall slowly ticks the remaining class time away until finally the bells crying out ending the torment. Before you all leave, I expect the answer for those problems by Monday. The class size as one, instantly regretting slacking off, but still acutely aware of the more pressing issues at hand. The classroom empties in a blink as everyone rushes into their last-minute festival preparations. I stay behind and try to quickly finish the questions so I don't have to bother with it over the rest of the weekend with the festival and all tomorrow. Apart from me, Hanako is the only one left, obviously waiting for Lily. It's weird that Lily comes all the way to our classroom to pick her up. I expect that moving around is at least nominally harder for her than it is for Hanako. But it's none of my business, and I naturally don't ask about it from Hanako. Wait lang, nauuhaw ako. Oh yes, water is good. Despite the relative proximity of our seats, neither tries to strike up a conversation about that or anything else either. So an oppressive silence falls upon the classroom. Time passes in silence. It's probably just 15 minutes or so, but it feels longer. I turn page of my notebook. Hanako turns pages of the novel she's reading. My pencil lid splinters against the paper just when I was about to finish a paragraph. The sound of my irritated sigh and subsequent fumbling around for a sharpener feel like they're breaking the mood in the classroom. Hanako keeps her eyes firmly away from my direction. Before long, Lily's tall figure appears in the doorway. Hanako. Her name is all it takes to make Hanako jump up from her desk and run to Lily. They talk quietly for a moment, but it isn't long before Lily leaves down the hall and Hanako idles back into the classroom talking her seat once again. Bye, Lilly-sama. Such a short notice. I watch Hanako out of the corner of my eye out of sheer curiosity at the idea that the two would be separated. For a couple of minutes, she does nothing but sit with her chin in her hand, staring at the desk dejectedly. The boredom evidently becomes too much for her though, her slender frame reaching into her bag and pulling out a small book. Come to think of it, that isn't the one I saw her reading at the library. She must be quite a fast reader to get through them at this rate. Sabi doon nila maganda daw magbasa tuwing gabi. Consider naman tong nagbabasa, di ba? Light novel. Ano, visual novel nga lang. But why would bago gabi tuloy, bago ka matulog, mas maganda daw magbasa. Kasi na-exercise yung brain or kung ano man sinasabi nila. Hindi ko alam. But why would Lily leave her to her own device? It seems to be quite out of the ordinary going by Hanako's reaction. Ah, that's right. I think Lily mentioned something about going into town today before Rin bumped into us. The thought of that walk makes me look outside. The bright sun and occasional people wandering around and enjoying the afternoon makes me yearn to get out of school or at least do something other than sit here. Giving into one of my worst vices, procrastination, I decide that history is a subject best studied on a Sunday or a Monday, or on any day other than this one. I give a grunt as I lever myself out of my seat and briefly debating with myself whether or not to hang out with Kenji. He doesn't strike me as the enjoying the nice weather outside with the others kind of person, really. I guess I'll catch up with him later. Changing tacks, I briefly entertained the idea of talking with Hanako, but by the time I look at her seat, it's vacant. She must have left for the library. There's got to be some there's got to be something there's got to be something to do that can kill time. Siyempre, siyempre sa town. Tapos baka ano natin, makita si Lily, mabobonggo. Ah, I'm sorry. Nandito ka rin pala. Parang ganun, mala coincidence. Go for a walk into town. Following Hanako to the library seems a bit intrusive. There was a reason she left the classroom after all. And that aside, I do want to catch up with Lily at the very least. I'd like to thank her for looking out for me despite her other, obviously, taxing duties. I guess I'll walk around town. With any luck, I should be able to find Lily. The exercise do me some good as well. Kaso nga lang yung pataas pabalik, yun yung mahirap. Walking through the school courtyard to the gate, I give a small nod to a couple passing classmate, the gesture being returned in kind. Even from here, the shouts of the sport club's member can be heard from the sheer volume of the din. The track must be packed right now. I remember what Lily said yesterday about being dropped right into the middle of a busy time for the school. While I'm trying to get my bearings and catch up on study that I've missed, everyone else is doing normal school activities. The feeling of being a foreigner still hasn't dissipated, at least not yet. Well, I guess not everything's bad. This is a private school and that much is easily noticed when walking around outside. Not only, oh my god, na ano ko. There is a private school and that much is easily not noticed when walking around outside. Not only are the school grounds huge, but the buildings themselves are immaculate and quite divorced from the dime a dozen concrete blocks of public schools. Oh yeah, gumagaling na ako sa pagbabasa. Magaling naman talaga ako sa pagbabasa. There's also the fact that there's a much stronger feeling of community here, or at least a friendlier atmosphere. At my old school, it was generally accepted that people would keep to their little clique and be done with it. Eventually, I reached the gate and began to walk down the road into town. Well, that was fairly productive. Having seen a fair portion of town, even including the houses perched on the hills around around the outskirts, I decided to take a walk around the park before heading back. Living in the city all my life, the total lack of smartly dressed businessman and fashionably dressed girl strike me as incredibly unusual. All that's to be seen are the odd elderly person shuffling along the sidewalk and assorted busily chatting pairs of middle-aged women outside of small storefronts. Walking along the road to the park quickly distracts me from them, though making me realize that I perhaps pushed myself further than I should have done to see as much as I could. Oh, oh. As my breath begins to wheeze, as my chest tightens more and I give up on the prospect of soldiering on. After a quick glance around the park as I enter, I take a seat on a wobbly old bench that I notice near a couple of vending machines. For minutes on end, I sit with my head bent over, forcing myself to take deep breaths. I feel more like an old man than a teenager who should be in the prime of his life. The stay in hospital, the surgery, and the medication must be taking their toll on me. Damn it. Eventually, my breathing returns to normal and the muscle in my chest loosen. Not without a fair measure of relief. I guess this means the end of my little sojourn though in any case. There's a cafe on the far corner, so I'll stop by to quench my thirst before heading back. A little bell over the door signals my arrival to an empty counter. For a few moments, I stand there waiting, my eyes every now and again drifting from one end of the counter to other searching for a service bell. Eventually, a door some ways behind the counter opens, the person emerging from it taking me by complete surprise. What? Yuko? Yuko in a maid outfit. Freckles and glasses. Nice. Yuko. Hi, I had no idea you work here. I really have no idea how to address her either, given that she is technically school staff as well as apparently a waitress. Yes, she quickly paced up to the counter before flinging her upper half downwards in an overacted bow. Welcome to the Shanghai. May I take your, Shanghai lang. Shanghai. Hindi ba dapat, Shangri-La para mas maano, heaven-like, May I take your order? Straight down to business, I see. I don't know. Well, some coffee, please. Yes, certainly. I'll make it right away and bring it to you when it's done. Ah, thanks. Yuko formality takes me aback. She seems to take her job very seriously. Obeying her instruction, I turn around and quickly glance around for a free table. Considering the cafe seems to be empty, this is a simple task to accomplish. As I walk towards the table adjacent to the window, I notice a flash of yellow around one of the table dividers. Sure enough, no more than a glance is needed to ascertain that it's a certain Sato at the table. That said, I don't recognize the suited figure across the table from her. Blonde, fair-skinned, and only a little shorter. I think she must be a she. Lalaki ka ba o babae? Either way, there's a hole. If there's a hole, there's a way. She must be a relative. She stood to her all silent, but as the suited figure takes a swig from a cup of coffee, I decided to greet Lily. Some part of my coming here was in order to meet her after all. Hi, Lily. Hisaw? Yeah, nice to see you again. The suited girl looks up, noting my uniform with a relaxed smile. Know each other? I guess. It's as good as an approximation of our relation as I can think of. Care to take a seat? She says this to the air beside me. But the message is clear enough and I take a seat beside her. I suppose some introduction might be in order. Hisao, this is Akira Sato, my older sister. Akira, this is Hisao Nakai, another Yamako student. Hindi halatang older sister mo siya kasi uh, uh, um, kasi, oh, shh. Ay, shut up. Looks like my guess was correct. The newly introduced Akira gives a nod, which is return. Which I return pala. What I don't return, however, is the almost analytical gaze with which she looks me over. As she does, Yuko walks up to the table and carefully places the coffee on the table before bowing and taking her leave. Gently bringing my hand to the side of the cup, I realize that it's already at just the right temperature to drink. After taking a sip, the flavor turns out to be just as good as the temperature. Yuko seems a lot better at this than being a librarian. I take a good long drink before relaxing into the seat. It takes mere seconds for Akira's examination to come to an end. Apparently, becoming quickly bored with the activity, she turns to her sister. So, how's school recently? It seems, oh sorry. It seems Akira is certainly concerned with someone she doesn't know at all, listening to everything they say. Not that I mind, leaving them to their chatting. I sit back and continue drinking the pleasant aromatic coffee. Sound like it's pretty busy for ya then. At least I'm not cooking your meals after school anymore. As they talk, I slowly realize that I'm entirely unable to gauge Lily's emotion through her eyes, as I would for any other person. It becomes slightly unsettling as I subconsciously focus on that fact. Whoa, so cold. Weren't you just cooking for yourself anyway? Only ever got leftovers. That's not the point. Are you managing to feed yourself at least? I can cook without blowing myself up, you know. Mostly. That's... Haha, it's fine. I need to learn sometime anyway. Ah, Lily. Everyone present in momentarily distracted by Yoko, who places a cup of tea on the table for Lily. Taking the moment to glance at her watch, Akira leaves herself off her seat and gives me a quick nod. Well, I'd be better off. It was nice talking to you, Lily. Akira, do you have to? Lily looks genuinely mournful at her sister suddenly leaving. It doesn't seem like she might have the wrong idea. Sorry, I need to get back to the work. They'll be on my neck again if I don't make it back quickly. So informal, Akira's trim and tidy appearance would give anyone the wrong impression of her. Bye, Akira. Come on, don't look so down. I'll be around again soon. See us. With that, she sets out the Shanghai with her hand held high. Lily still looks pretty depressed, so I try to make some small talk in an effort to take her mind off it. She seems nice. We used to live together, but now that I live at school, we hardly ever see each other. Despite Lily having been quite affable, I still don't really know how much about her. In hindsight, it's surprising just how much she extracted from me, really. We used to live together. Was it somewhere around here? It was pretty south. It was pretty far south, so the trip into Yamako was fairly long. With her working hours getting longer and Yamako being so far away, there was little choice in the end but to move into the dormitories. Well, that explains the chatter about cooking. Evidently, regain her composure, she livens back up at least in part. I take it you're better rested now. Sorry? You sounded less exhausted than you did when you first came in. To be able to pick out my breathing like that, she must have pretty good ears. Yeah, ended up walking all over the town, despite only planning on taking a short walk down here. Reminded of my thirst from the walk, I leaned forward to take a sip. Without further ado, Lily starts on her cup of strong-smelling tea. I guess I'd better get going to Yamako. There's only so long I can stall studying for, and I'd want to get a good night's sleep before the festival. Standing from my seat, I take the coffee-stained cup from the table. You're leaving? Yeah, you're going to head back as well. It's getting kind of late. For a moment, she pauses before lifting her face over her teacup as if she was looking at me. Yuko, could we have one more coffee, please? Okay, I'll bring it right away. That's not subtle. She gives a short giggle at my frank assessment of her maneuver is surprisingly childish and carefree, given her otherwise collected appearance. In the end, though I have a little reason to refuse, to be honest, I can hardly say no, all things considered. Giving a manufactured sigh, I take a seat opposite her. Agurasibu, Lilly-sama. Agurasibu. Wanting company then. I say that's more that I was wondering. I see she's in questioning mode again. She doesn't seem to be unusually interested in me or at least curious. Do you have any siblings? Not exactly an unexpected tangent. No, only child. To be honest, the idea of having someone that close makes me a bit envious. Interesting. I raise an eyebrow. Yes, I would like some onesama in my life. I raise an eyebrow, which of course goes unseen. The short silence communicates the question well enough. It's just that the other have said the same thing before. It's a difficult subject to try and think about objectively, given that I always had someone like that. I can mostly understand what Lily means, given that it would be hard to place oneself outside of a situation they've been in all their life. She and her sister must have a pretty close relationship, taking pains to interrupt us as little as possible. Yuko dutifully comes over and places a cup on the table. Lily thanks her as I sit back, taking in this vexing girl in front of me. Despite always seeming to be on her guard and in control of herself when talking to others, she has an almost childlike curiosity about other people. That said, those rare moments she seems to slightly lower her guard are the most insightful into how she thinks. Reaching forward my drink, I realized something I probably should have noticed earlier. I think I'm starting to become kind of curious about her. Despite making a good pace, it's already nightfall by the time I reach large iron gates in the front of the school. While it's nice to have plenty time of wandering around by virtue of living right next to the school, I can't help but get the feeling that very few students actually take the opportunity. Compared to the number of students I see miling around on campus during free time, it's startlingly rare to see anyone around town. Given the large number of accommodation and facilities that the school offers, many of them might simply not see any point in venturing outside, let alone people such as Hanako and Kenji. It makes me wonder if students like Shizune, Misha, and Lily are the exception for this school, rather than the norm. As I wander back to my dorm room, I continue to compare my old school with Yamako. As I do so, I begin to be surprised that I managed to get even this used to everything that's happened to me. Parang meron akong nakulang. Sa tingin ko dapat di ko na lang talaga dinisable yung adult content. Eh, sa tingin ko may kulang. Oh, that's happened to me. Hey. Okay. Sa tingin ko yun muna tayo. Okay. Okay. Next day, I wake up little lighthead. It's almost noon already. Okay, yun muna tayo. Late na kasi ako nagsimula. Tsaka sa tingin ko magiging mas mahaba tong ano na to. Buti nga maikli lang yung day na yon. Save, 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 save. Create yung save state. Continue. Save, save. Don't panic. Yeah. At yun na yun. Nasayahan ako sa date namin ni Lilly-sama. Ang magiging ano nito, date with Lilly-sama. Nice. So nga lang meron tayo nung lunchbox na yung lunchbox na part. So nga lang di ako. Yun na yun. Punta na sa main menu. Sa tingin ko maganda naman yung ating naging progress. Sa tingin ko tama naman yung aking dito. Aking route papunta kay Lilly-sama. Or baka maybe tumitingin ako sa mga walkthrough. Oh my god, how bullshit pa am I? Sadya matatandaan ko lang. 2 beses ko na to nalaro dati eh. At I'm sure that, you know, this one is so good. Super good. Yun na yun. Yun na yung lahat sa part na to. Hindi na ako makahintay sa mga marami pang mga scene with Lilly-sama. Hoho. At saka wala akong nahanap na thumbnail ngayon. Tingnan ko na lang mamaya kung ano pwede kong magawa. Okay. Salamat. Salamat. Yun na yun. Yun Yun na po yun. Mag-off na tayo. Okay. Johnny, bye bye.